Hello again, everyone. Sports Talk on Elm Street is back.
It's us in the flesh.
Yeah, it is us in the flesh. I'm Joe Elms. He's Quinn Richards, right across from me, as usual. And today's episode, I'm excited for this because this is something I look forward to when the spring semester begins. This is something that I always really look forward to since we started doing this last year. I don't remember if we did it freshman year or not.
We did it freshman year. I remember.
But really?
Yeah.
Your memory
So this is the- this
better
is-
than mine then.
I apparently have good memory because this is the third straight year we've done this. Because
Yeah,
I remember being up in the old WIUX studio
Yeah.
talking fantasy draft.
Shout out to 99.1 FM.
Shout out to
Yeah.
our old hosts.
Yeah. Our old
yeah.
stomping grounds.
I'm
if
like
you will.
excited for this because I honestly obviously I pay attention, but you had told me you're like, okay, we're gonna I think maybe do the fantasy draft or the mock draft or whatever, and I was like, I got to study up because it's always that time of year where it's like you know these names and you see these guys, but it's different when you just like know the college players and know the NFL teams versus actually putting those two together and being like, here's the team needs. It's always fun. It's kind of like a puzzle. I've always felt like doing the mock draft.
That's interesting. I've never really thought about it that way before.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you
like
bring that
try
up.
and then like whether one team picks this person, does that affect later on in the draft? I think it's super fun to do. Listen, I also have some thoughts on this. I feel like mock drafts as a whole, like this is crazy to say right before we do a mock draft. I think they're overblown. Like I think it's
way to kill the vibe.
No,
Quinn.
I'm not trying to kill the vibe.
Way to kill the vibe.
I'm just saying. Let's be real. No one's ever gotten a perfect mock draft.
Okay, no. Well, yeah, it's like a March Madness bracket.
Yeah.
You're never gonna get it perfectly.
Yeah,
It's like a 1 in multiple millions kind of chance.
like I don't know. I guess I get it.
I guess
Because like
see your
I
point.
enjoy also like as a Lions fan looking like, okay, who could the Lions possibly pick up? And if this goes to there, then this goes there. So I guess there is fun to it. But like I also think at some point it's like, what are we doing?
And same for me. Like I'm looking at who might the Eagles get? Although it's weird because we're at the very bottom of the first round this year.
That's weird for you.
Yeah, a little bit strange.
We're not going to get to an Eagles pick or a Lions pick today.
Maybe Howie will work
unless you have a
some magic.
trade.
Unless I don't know. I'm not going. I'm gonna keep my lips sealed. In regards to trades.
Oh, he's being quiet here.
Yeah, I'm gonna be quiet. I think I said last year at the beginning of the show that I basically said out loud I'm not gonna do any trades. Not gonna be that way this time around. I think I'm gonna be quiet. Maybe you'll see some trades. Maybe you won't. Who knows? I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna make it a little mystery element for you all.
Joe, I want to get into this. I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm ready too. Yeah, I'm ready too. Let's go. Quinn, do you wanna lead us off with your number 1 overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be much of a surprise to anyone. I think we have the same
we're
pick
in agreement here. Yeah.
With the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, the Tennessee Titans select Cam Ward, quarterback, Miami.
Yeah.
Did you see the live stream, the Fortnite live stream? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Where he said,
First of all, he told the chat in this live stream to quote tighten up multiple times. The tighten up, which is their thing,
that's the Titans thing.
Titans their catchphrase,
their slogan, if you will.
And then he was asked, I don't know who he was playing with. It might have been a Fortnite person. It might have been a Miami teammate. He said, "What are your top four running backs?" And he goes, Pollard, Spears. And they said, "Who are your top 4 wide receivers?" And he leads off with probably Calvin Ridley.
He said, I think the quote was something like, he was asked about A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's a dog, but he's not Calvin Ridley.
Not Calvin Ridley.
I'm like, what?
And his top 4 wide receivers were Calvin Ridley, a Titan, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, the 2 undisputed best wide receivers probably in the NFL.
Hey.
And then he followed it up with Traylon Burks. So Traylon Burks, probably a top 40, 50 wide receiver.
Maybe not even top 40. Yeah.
So I don't think it's any surprise. He knows where he's going.
Yeah.
The Titans are going to take Cam Ward with the first pick in the NFL draft.
I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. I think we all know. I have my mock draft simulator from Pro Football Network up here, but this comes with the disclaimer that I'll also be writing my picks down in a Microsoft Word document. Quinn wrote his down on paper.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
Well, Microsoft.
Same thing.
Or Google Docs, rather.
Yeah. So Quinn wrote his in Google Docs before he got here today. I'm writing mine in Word as I go, and I'm drafting here so I can remember. So if you hear these sounds, if you all hear the sounds
and the clicks
of the keyboard clicking, then you'll know what that is. Anywho, not going to spend too much time on this one. Quinn, I'm going to agree with you with the first overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. The Tennessee Titans select Cam Ward, quarterback, Miami, Florida.
I'm gonna
Draft.
pose a question to you, Joe. Do you
Yeah.
think that's a? It's tough.
Oh.
I think the answer to this is pretty clear, and it's a clear no. But do you think it's a reach for the Titans to pick Cam Ward there? Because it's not a super strong quarterback class, but Cam Ward is kind of become the easily top quarterback in the class. But I still don't know. I think the thing is that the Titans don't have any other options. You
They
have
lit-
to
they
do
literally
do this.
don't, yeah.
But do you think it's a bit of a reach, and would you consider trading down if you were the Titans?
I might give it some thought. I don't know if I would give it any serious thought.
Yeah,
I think it's like you know by now that Will Levis is not the answer at quarterback. I know how much you love him, but he is not. He's not the answer at quarterback. I don't think he's a viable NFL starter, and I think the Titans know this. And to answer your question, no, I don't think this is really that much of a reach. So
Okay.
I think the Titans will likely stay put, and I think they pick Cam Ward just as. And I believe we are in agreement there.
I agree.
Shall we move on to the second overall?
Yeah, do you want to snake it, or do you want me to go first every time, or do you want to go first on
We
the-
can snake it, I
We'll
guess.
snake
I'll take this one first. Yeah, so the Cleveland Browns, people. The Cleveland Browns at the second overall pick. A very familiar spot for them.
Yes.
Sorry, Browns fans. I had to.
Unfortunately,
I
for
didn't
them.
have to, but I did. So a very familiar spot for the Browns picking in the top 3 of the NFL draft once again. They need a lot. Kind of everything. And they need to figure out what they're going to do at quarterback because Deshaun Watson is, how do I put this diplomatically? Really, really bad at football at this stage in his career. Anyway, but I don't think the Browns go quarterback because the best one just got taken. And I don't think I think they may explore quarterback in later rounds. I don't think they're that desperate yet, asterisk. So I'm going to take a different approach than the game's most important position. With the second overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Travis Hunter, cornerback / wide receiver, Colorado. Quinn, the stage is yours.
I'm taking a different approach than you.
Ooh.
So this is going to be our first parody. And I will
Parody.
openly admit that I think by picks 2 and 3, and maybe your picks 2 and 3, we'll see, I guess.
Yeah.
I think they can be interchangeable, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with you.
I think I know. I
Yeah.
think I know what you're going to go with.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with
actually.
you that I don't think the Browns should reach on a quarterback. If Cam Ward goes number 1, the next quarterback on the board is either Jackson Dart or Shedeur Sanders, I guess.
I believe it's Sanders, and I don't think they should reach that far.
Sanders is probably like if it was just all positions, probably like 30th pick in the draft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it is a reach. It is a very weak, and that's an understatement, very weak
Very weak quarterback class.
quarterback
Very
class.
weak quarterback
You don't need to rush. You just brought back Joe Flacco, who you've already seen can take you to the playoffs.
Right.
Right? So like you already have an option there
Yeah.
in Joe Flacco that can take you to the playoffs. You don't need to rush on a quarterback in a mediocre class.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do that. What do? I say you go out there and you get the best defensive player, in my opinion, in this class, and you make an elite defensive line, and you pair up Myles Garrett with the second overall pick. The Cleveland Browns select Abdul Carter, edge rusher, Penn State. I think Abdul Carter paired with Myles Garrett puts the Browns in a situation where then you go from being, a team that has the second overall pick in this draft to a team that actually has a pretty elite defense.
Yeah.
When you pair Myles Garrett with Abdul Carter, it's going to be one of the best pass rushes in the NFL. Then you pair it with an offense that should at least be able to produce something with Joe Flacco. But right, we saw what Joe Flacco did, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And he took that team, and it was a very good offense. Obviously, they won a game in the playoffs. No, they beat the Texans, or did they got steamrolled by the Texans? But they made the
got
playoffs.
destroyed by the Texans,
They
yeah.
were the underdogs, and they were
They
like
were the
five seed.
I think it was 5-4.
But I think for the Browns, you want to go with what's the most value, and I think the most value here would be getting the best defensive player in the draft, Abdul Carter. There can be an argument for Travis Hunter, but I think Abdul Carter is the way to go if you're the Browns, especially when you have Myles Garrett already on the D-line.
Okay. All right.
So I will take on with this
go
snake
ahead.
draft
Go
to number
ahead for
3, which
number
is
3.
actually a good segue. The New York Giants. This is a team that needs help both on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Joe, there happens to be a guy that can do both, and you just mentioned him With the 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft, the New York Giants select Travis Hunter, wide receiver, cornerback from Colorado.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure that Travis is going to be able to play both sides of the ball in the NFL.
Yeah, that was something that I was wondering about too.
I
don't
think-
even know if
I think of all teams, the Giants would be like one of the teams most willing to let it happen.
Yeah.
What do you have to lose? You're the New York. I mean, I guess him getting hurt, but you're the New York Giants. Like, you need a lot of help on both sides, and you need playmakers. And Travis Hunter can do that. As a wide receiver, Travis Hunter can be that playmaker. I think he's too good of a player to pass up on with the 3rd pick. I don't think, obviously, quarterback situation. It's Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston now in New York. Not obviously your long-term options, but again, you don't reach for a quarterback at that situation when it's Shedeur Sanders is next on the board and you have the 3rd overall pick. Too much of a reach. So I think Travis Hunter is the best value. Look, he's so talented. We've seen it in college, the Heisman Trophy winner. Travis Hunter is the pick at number 3. Joe?
All right, yeah. So these two, you mentioned the prospect of them being no pun intended, of being interchangeable. So that's where this comes into play. So I won't spend too much time on this one because you just covered the selection that the Giants are going to make for me in pretty significant detail. So I won't spend a lot of time on this one. I'll cut right to the chase with the 3rd overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. The New York Giants select Abdul Carter, edge rusher, Penn State. So Abdul Carter won't have to go very far from Penn State to technically New Jersey, I guess, East Rutherford.
Not too far.
Not too far of a move for him. But yeah, I mean, the Giants, I think they quietly, listen, I know I'm an Eagles fan and I don't like giving my rivals any props, but I will in this case. The Giants, I think, are quietly building a very, very solid defense. Very solid defense. Offensively, it's a much different story. I don't have a lot of faith in Russell Wilson, and Malik Neighbors is kind of just by himself almost over there.
It does feel like that.
Yeah, a little bit. They did have this really good running back a few years ago. Wonder what.
Remind me who he is.
I think his name was something like. I think it was Saquon something.
So Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley. I wonder how he's doing now.
Probably retired.
Yeah, probably out of the league. No. But yeah, no, the Giants select Abdul Carter and they add to what is already a pretty solid defense. I think they have a lot of pieces. They bolster that defensive line, and I think Abdul Carter is one of those guys, kind of like what the Cowboys have in Micah Parsons a little bit, that you can kind of use him in a lot of different places. I think that Abdul Carter has the raw talent, the raw ability to be able to be used in that kind of mold. So the Giants take Abdul Carter. Let's keep going to the 4th overall pick, held by the New England Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
And the Patriots, in my personal opinion, are one of the most intriguing teams going into the new season. You may be thinking to yourself, "What? They're going to be terrible." Well, I mean, you're probably right. They're not going to win 10 or 11 games or anything. They're probably not going to be good. But this team is a new coach in Mike Vrabel. They have seemingly a franchise quarterback in Drake May. Yes. And I think they're quietly building something. Obviously, like the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady era, long gone, long over. Belichick's now in college football, which is insane to think about. But it's a new era in New England, right? Gerard Mayo did not work out, and now Mike Vrabel, he's proven, he's experienced, he's got wins under his belt. Yes, he's a proven win. He wins. He showed it in Tennessee, and he's a former Patriot.
Former Buckeye.
Yeah, there it is. I knew you were going to say that. Anyway, yeah, so new head coach, new quarterback, Drake May going into year 2. I think there's a lot to like here, a lot of young pieces. And something that jumps out to me right away is the need to protect their new golden goose, their new franchise quarterback. So maybe a teeny reach, but I'm going to go with it because I think it makes the most logical sense. I almost said logistical. I don't think that's right.
I don't think that's grammatically correct.
Yeah, that's it's the most logically sound thing to do here. So with the 4th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Will Campbell, offensive tackle, LSU. Now, I know this whole thing we've gone like, oh, his hands are tiny. Oh, he's a little bit thin for an offensive lineman. I think that's completely overblown. I think it's completely overblown. We saw what Will Campbell is capable of at LSU, right? He was one of the best offensive tackles in the country, and this is the reason why he's going in the top 5. So I think those concerns are overblown, and I think he's going to settle into that spot. Will there be some growing pains? Most likely. That's kind of how the NFL works, especially for rookie offensive tackles, right? I think that there will be some growing pains, yes, but I think in the long run he will slot in nicely as the blind side blocker, if you will, for Drake May.
Drake May.
Yeah, so that's where I have the Patriots going. Quinn, go ahead.
I'm not going to take too much time on this.
Are we in agreement?
We're in agreement here. So
yes.
The biggest need for the team is protecting Drake May. So don't pass up the opportunity to get the best offensive lineman in the class. It's pretty simple, right? Your biggest, you need to protect your quarterback. Take the guy who's the best at protecting your quarterback. So pull the trigger. I think you get Will Campbell, offensive tackle, LSU, 4th overall pick. We are in agreement. We've been pretty even on 1. We flip-flopped on 2 and 3, and now we're even on 4 here. So we'll see if we start to disagree. I think maybe we will here. I think I have a bit of an interesting one. Not sure. Jacksonville.
Yes.
Probably one of the most underwhelming teams last season. You know, you look at the Giants, Browns, Titans, Patriots. These were teams that didn't have a ton of upside going into the season.
Yeah.
The Jaguars, I mean, I think did, right? A lot of people thought this was a team. You have a franchise quarterback, or at least one that's getting paid like a franchise quarterback, in Trevor Lawrence. You had weapons. There was a lot of excitement, but a horrible season, one of the worst seasons. You got a new coach now, right?
Yeah.
I think if you are the Jags, you need value. And I think you're not going to find much better value than an offensive player from Penn State, Tyler Warren. Tight end, Penn State with the 5th overall pick.
Okay, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm saying.
Here's what I'm saying.
Early. You have so much money tied up in T-Law, right?
Yep.
You kind of have to go all in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one's going to take T-Law off your hands, so you need anything you can do to help T-Law. What's the best thing for a quarterback? A tight end, honestly. Mm-hmm. Because a tight end, especially one like Tyler Warren, he is a solid blocker. But beyond that, he can do everything offensively, and he is a dynamic playmaker. We saw him at Penn State. He was throwing the ball. He was taking handoffs. He was catching like some nasty catches.
They had him in like the backfield sometimes. And he would just, they would just send him in motion. They would just give him handoffs, like you said.
You saw him against Boise State. He cooked them. Yeah. He was cooking Boise State.
Destroyed that defense.
All through that playoffs run, he was, central. He was the core. And also with the Jags, we've seen Evan Ingram. I know, at least for my fantasy team, Evan Ingram had some big games in that tight end role for the Jags. He's gone now, right? So you need that safety valve, and also providing another blocker to an offensive line that struggled last season. I think Tyler Warren is the exact right pick for the Jags. I think you got to go all in. You're already committed to Trevor Lawrence. You got to help him out, right? You got to help him out. And I think having a guy like Tyler Warren that can get open in the flat makes you a lot more comfortable as a quarterback. So I think for Trevor Lawrence, that would be super huge for him. So 5th overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Tyler Warren, Penn State.
Wow. All right.
We disagree here. I can tell from your reaction.
Okay, I see your logic. I think it's sound. However, something jumps out to me right when I got to the little team needs thing. Something jumped out right away. And the who is still available on the board. The first position that comes up is defensive tackle. First position that comes up is defensive tackle for Jacksonville. And the defense for Jacksonville last year was, just not good. Not good at all. Not good. Not going to get specifics, but it was not good. Just let it be known. So something that jumps out right away is one of the needs for this Jacksonville roster is that you gotta upgrade the trenches defensively. I don't even know if that worked, but we're gonna go with it. So there's a player on this board that jumps out to me right away. So I'm not going to waste any more time. With the 5th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan. Draft. So I think the Jaguars, they know that they need defensive upgrades, and I think that they go for need over, I believe in your case, it was honestly just best player, just talent, right?
Best player. I mean, I also think it fills a need.
Yeah.
There's not a ton of receiver or offensive line depth with the Jags, and I think Tyler Warren is a rare piece that provides both. I think he is a very talented receiver, and he is a more than acceptable blocker. So I think there is value there in filling an important need, but I also do think he is the better player in that situation.
Yeah. No, I feel that. Do you want to go to number 6 overall?
Yeah,
you
you lead us off here.
The Las Vegas Raiders. I'm excited to make this pick because I already know, I think, what direction they're going to go here because it's been showing up in the media recently. Quite a bit, actually. Yeah, so the Las Vegas Raiders hold the 6th overall pick in the draft. And there's been so much talk about this. It's almost like one of those things where you can't really imagine anything else happening. At least that's the way I feel. So I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time. And keep in mind, it is a pretty big team need for them. And I gave a brief thought to going corner here because there's a certain corner who's really good, who
maybe
hails from the school that I just picked up a player from. Yeah, but I'm not going to go that route. Instead, with the 6th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, Las Vegas Raiders select Ashton Jeanty, running back, Boise State, and my Heisman winner. He should have won it, not Travis Hunter. But that's a conversation for another day, I suppose. Quinn, go ahead. Number 6 overall pick. For me typing.
Joe, you'll never believe what I have to say.
What?
6th overall pick,
What?
the Las Vegas Raiders select Ashton Jeanty, running back, Boise State.
That's crazy.
Look, the offense right now on the Raiders is like Geno Smith.
That's like it.
Who else is on that? Name another player on that offense.
Brock Bowers.
There you go.
There's Geno Smith and Brock Bowers. It's like it, right? Who is their
Brock
best,
Bowers was basically the only guy that showed upside last year.
Excluding Brock Bowers, who is their best receiver? Like, I literally don't know.
Let's take a quick
look it up.
Let's take a quick second to look at the Raiders depth chart from last season. Last season, wide receiver Jacoby Myers.
Awesome. Granted, he did have a pretty solid year.
Like, he had a solid year, and I remember back when Jacoby Myers was paired with Devontae Adams, they were a pretty good combo. But by himself, Jacoby Myers can't do much. Your running back is Raheem Mostert. Like, Zamir White was hurt for most of the year. You need Ashton Jeanty. You need him.
This depth chart is
You need another weapon.
bad.
You need another weapon, and I think that's what Jeanty is. Now, there's plenty of team needs on the Raiders, but I think Jeanty is the guy.
I really question why now I'm wondering why they even traded for Geno Smith in the first place, because this supporting cast is, outside of Brock Bowers, this supporting cast is awful.
Yeah.
Sorry, Raiders fans. I have to keep it real with you. This supporting cast sucks.
No, it's bad. It's very bad.
Really bad.
It's bad.
Anyway, so we're in agreement with Jeanty. Let's move on to number 7.
The New York Jets. I think another offensive lineman goes off the board here. With the 7th overall pick in the NFL draft, the New York Jets select Armand Membo from Missouri. I think it's Membu. I don't know.
Membu, yeah.
From Missouri. Look, we don't really know who's going to be at right tackle for the Jets next season. I think this is your guy. It would make a ton of sense. You need to help protect Justin Fields. Your new franchise quarterback, Justin Fields, who, look, I know Justin Fields has gotten a lot of trash, but I think he can actually be solid. We saw what he did in Pittsburgh, right? Let's not pretend like he wasn't at least a serviceable quarterback in Pittsburgh. He was.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very interesting situation for the Jets. You could go receiver here. You still have Garrett Wilson tied up, so I think you don't need to reach for a receiver this early, because I don't know if there's one that in this class necessarily stands out. We'll get to receivers, I guess, in a few picks here. I have one coming off the board, spoiler. But I think you just go offensive tackle in a pretty safe pick with Armand Membo. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
A big tackle who can kind of be a cornerstone, I think, in that offensive line.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the Jets here. I had a plan for this originally, but then you talking about your pick kind of has made me change my mind.
Yeah.
God.
Oh, you're thinking here.
Yeah, man, I'm torn. I feel like I know what if I was in the Jets' shoes, I think I know what I would take. But then again, do we trust the Jets fully to make sound drafting decisions? Do we?
Werner.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that sound effect.
Yes.
I don't. Yeah. I think with the 7th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft, the New York Jets select Armand Membo,
Yeah. There you
offensive
go.
tackle, Missouri. I
There
was
you go.
like, I was so close to picking a certain quarterback from Colorado, but
Oh,
I
wow.
but I did not.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's a reach.
because I don't.
you don't need that. You don't need that.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know if I trust Justin Fields and whoever their backup is.
You're a hater.
Fully, he's a good player. He's like a, you know the term social media quarterback.
No, but
It's like when they got they got all their highlights and all their big plays. They make like 4 or 5
oh yeah,
big
yeah,
plays
yeah,
a game
yeah,
that's shown
sure.
all over the social media.
Can you call Will Levis a social media quarterback for his lowlights?
I suppose, although he just sucks straight up.
Will Levis is my guy, bro.
Why do you love him so much? I don't
love
think
Will
I
Levis.
don't think I know the lore.
I don't know. I just love Will Levis.
You should.
All right, let's move on. Pick
Yeah.
number 8. Joe, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, hang on. Let me finish up my.
He's clicking and
Entry
clacking
here,
over there
yeah,
on
this
his
was-
keyboard.
I probably could have done this a little bit more
On his-
efficiently, but what?
on his Dell laptop,
Yeah, I love my Dell. So much better than what I used to have.
which was?
An Asus. You know what that
Oh,
is?
Yes.
They're
familiar.
my
They make gaming laptops.
Yeah, my parents got my brother Henry and I. Henry, for those who don't know, he's my brother, and I love him very much.
Hank.
What?
Hank.
Don't call him that.
Okay.
Yeah, so my parents they bought us Asus laptops. I swear to you, from the moment I got that thing, it sucked. So
He's a
I'm
hater.
glad. I'm very glad I have my Dell. I
Brother,
love-
just make your pick.
yeah, I love my Dell. You asked. So
That's true. I did start
You brought
this.
it up.
I did
so-
start this with the Dell comment.
Yeah, you said Dell. So anywho, yeah, let's keep going. The Carolina Panthers
Boom.
are on the clock. Yeah, so it's an interesting. It was an interesting end to the year for Carolina. We all thought that Bryce Young was going to be the biggest number 1 overall pick bust ever. Maybe he did not look good, and then he just turned it on after really coming back in the lineup. Right, he was benched for Andy Dalton,
Yeah.
and then he comes back in and starts playing really, really well. Almost beat my Eagles.
Played some good football.
In week 14, yeah. So the Panthers, clearly they have something in Bryce Young. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I believe he threw 5 touchdowns or accounted for 5 touchdowns in their final game of the year against
Possibly.
Atlanta.
They beat him, right?
I believe so, yeah. So a really, really good end of the year for Carolina. And they clearly have something in Bryce Young. One of their team needs is offensive coordinator. That made me chuckle. What?
That's funny.
Did I get that wrong?
I think that's funny though.
Um,
Team need as a coordinator.
That's interesting.
Pick one
I'm
up
like
in the
wondering
draft.
if I got that wrong.
Can they draft one?
I don't think so.
With
All the I don't really know
With
who's
the-
going to be.
the 8th pick in the NFL draft, the Carolina Panthers select Chip Kelly, Ohio State.
Yeah.
It's Chip Kelly.
Yeah, Chip Kelly. Where even is Chip Kelly now? Is he
He's with the Raiders.
Yeah, he's
now.
with the Raiders. With the 8th overall pick, the Panthers select Kellen Moore.
yeah.
Anyway, so the Panthers, they need to do everything possible to load up defensively, and there seems to be a perfect match here that they can insert on the outside defensively. So, with that being said, with the 8th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft, the Carolina Panthers select Will Johnson, defensive back, Michigan. Draft.
I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the ball. I like the Will Johnson pick, but I don't think it's what the Panthers need.
Really?
So the Panthers, their defense ranked last in both points and yards allowed in the NFL last season. Fun fact, the Panthers gave up the most points in a single season in NFL history.
543.
Most in NFL history.
543, right?
But
Yeah.
the stat that stands out to me beyond all of those was that the Carolina Panthers pass rush produced the lowest percentage of quarterback pressure in 2024, just 25.5% per Next Gen Stats,
Ooh,
which is really bad. That's about
Not-
1/4
not
of your
good.
plays. You're
Not
actually
good.
getting QB pressure.
that's not
So
good.
I think
Not
you
at
need to
all.
address the defensive line. So with the Carolina Panthers 8th pick, I think they go Jalen Walker, edge rusher / linebacker from Georgia. This is a guy who is
I
a
like
very
that
dynamic
pick.
player.
I like
He's
that
an edge
pick.
rusher, but he can also play coverage. Jalen Walker is a very, very dynamic, very quick player. He can really do it all, and I think that's what the Panthers need on that defensive front seven.
Yeah.
I'll move on to
Yeah.
the New Orleans Saints. The Saints is a team that's interesting because I've seen a lot of people talking about quarterbacks, right? You have Spencer Rattler right now, and it's not even someone that Kellen Moore, head coach, drafted.
Kellen Moore, my goat.
So
Super Bowl champion Kellen Moore.
it's an interesting dilemma here. I still don't think you can go quarterback. Now, listen,
I
this
agree
is
with
one
that.
where I think I could be very wrong because in the past, when you're comparing mock drafts to the actual draft, quarterbacks is that one position that tends to just skyrocket up the board, right?
Mhm.
You might predict one out of the top 15 as quarterbacks, and then boom, there's 4 quarterbacks there.
Yeah.
We saw it last season with Michael Penix. No one thought Michael Penix was going to go that high, and he ended up being, what, a top 15 pick?
number 8, I think.
Yeah, top 10 pick.
Crazy.
Quarterbacks are a thing that teams want to shoot high on. Fun fact, in the history of the Saints franchise, there has been one quarterback drafted in the top 74 picks. Do you want to guess who that was?
It was not Drew Brees.
No, it was Archie Manning. In
Seriously?
1971 with the 2nd overall pick. So
That's
this is
insane.
a
That's
franchise that hasn't need to. And granted, you've had Drew Brees, you've had quarterbacks that have been there for a long time.
Taysom Hill. Sorry.
All right, for a long time. So it hasn't really been a need. But I think that trend continues. I think that the Saints instead go defensively. I say with the 9th overall pick, the New Orleans Saints select Will Johnson, cornerback,
Wow.
Michigan. Corner is a big hole on this in this roster. I think Will Johnson is by far the best corner. You already had him off your board earlier.
Yeah.
I think he stays till the 9th pick, and the Saints pick him up just before the top 10.
Yeah, so I'm going to go in a different direction than you went. So we are not in agreement here. I think the Saints, they have Spencer Rattler at quarterback, right?
Yeah.
I would like to think that Kellen Moore likes Spencer Rattler and maybe sees something in him I don't know. There's
would
no
that
telling
be?
what he could be at this point.
I guess, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they give up on. Maybe they just find that Rattler's just not cut out to be a starter. Maybe they give up on him in a year or two. Or maybe Kellen Moore sees something in him. I don't know. What I think the Saints will end up doing is I think they got to give him all the help he can get. Right? They still got Chris Olave on that roster. Stud, great player. And I believe Rashid. Wait, let me get
Shaheed?
this right. Rashid
Shaheed.
God.
I think it's Rashid Shaheed.
Rashid Shaheed is, I believe so, on that roster as well. I mean, you saw like how I remember we were talking about the 2-0 Saints.
Yeah.
Remember that?
When we were hyping them up.
Remember hyping up after they destroyed the Cowboys?
Let's be real, we were glazing them.
We were glazing them, and now Clint Kubiak is gone. Now in Seattle. But I think the Saints, it's a team need. I think they fill this need. So with the 9th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Tet McMillan, wide receiver, Arizona.
I like that pick.
He had a heck of a year in Tucson, and I think he heads to New Orleans and puts up production. I don't know how much, but definitely production, makes his presence felt in the Kellen Moore offense in his rookie year.
I like that pick a lot. I almost went there as well.
Yeah.
With Teteroa McMillan.
Yeah.
Joe, the Chicago Bears with the 10th pick.
Yeah, the Chicago Bears, off-season champions once again, I suppose. Yeah, so the Bears with the 10th overall pick. This is interesting because their offensive line, I think, was one of the biggest stories last year. It was awful.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams got sacked. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Caleb Williams, I think, got sacked more than any other quarterback in the NFL last year.
Yeah, he almost broke the sack record, I think.
single season, right?
Yeah. He was like climbing the charts there.
That's not good
No.
at all.
And there can be something to be said about he was holding on to the ball too long. I know that was a debate, and it was like, oh, he doesn't throw interceptions well because he holds on to the ball and gets sacked. So,
Yeah, so-
there can be something to said about that. But the offensive line was objectively horrendous.
objectively awful. Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct. So I think they need to do something to rectify that. There is a candidate that jumps out for me right away, and I think the Bears pounce. So with the 10th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle from Texas. Draft. Quinn, what do you see
Yeah.
the Bears doing?
Yeah, so the Bears did address the offensive line in the offseason with free agency. You got Joe Tooney, you added Drew Dahlman as a center, but I still think there's work that needs to be done there. Look, the biggest thing to me is Ben Johnson, head coach of the Bears. How did he build that Lions offense? It was through the offensive line, right? You think back to that first draft that the Lions had on this rebuild. It was Penei Sewell. That was the guy who kind of started this offensive resurgence. He knows that that's how you build a good organization. His offense is predicated on play action and having other teams commit to the run. I mean, I've watched the Lions for forever. I know this is how he runs his offense. It's run the ball, pound the rock, which opens up play action in those deep shots for Jameson Williams or Amon-Ra St. Brown for Jared Goff. That's what he wants to do. It starts with the offensive line. I think you go Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle, Texas with the 10th overall pick.
Nice. We're in agreement once
In agreement
again.
there. I'll take the San Francisco 49ers.
Yes, go ahead.
This is a team that got hit hard in free agency. A lot of players left on both sides of the ball.
A lot of losses.
I think you want to address defense here. There's a lot of places you can go if you're the 49ers. I think one of the best players left that we haven't mentioned is with the 11th overall pick, the San Francisco 49ers select Jahad Campbell, linebacker, Alabama. This is a guy who's dynamic. He can rush the quarterback, but he can also play coverage. I think he'll pair really, really well with Fred Warner. And beyond that, something I really like in NFL drafts is when you can pair a guy in the same position or at least playing alongside a veteran, because it sets yourself up and your organization up for the future.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You get Jahad Campbell in, even if he's not perfect, even if there's some growing pains with Fred Warner, he's going to learn a lot from Fred Warner, and it can set yourself up for the future so that you'll have a franchise linebacker. And we've seen how valuable Fred Warner has been for the 49ers since he's been there.
Yep.
I think Jahad Campbell is the guy for the 49ers with the 11th pick.
All right. Yeah. So I'll take San Francisco. I think they go defensively as well. I mean, there's so many. It's like you said, there's so many different ways they can go here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they just.
Do you still have
they
Jalen
lost.
Walker on the board?
Yeah. So thanks for spoiling it.
I'm so sorry. I was asking a
Dang
question.
it,
'cause I
Quinn.
wasn't sure.
Why? Yeah. So I guess I won't waste any more time because you messed it up. With the 11th overall pick.
I'm the worst.
Yeah, you suck. And with the 11th pick in the 2025 NFL draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Jalen Walker, linebacker, Georgia. Now, so I said the whole Micah Parsons bit about how Dallas uses him in a lot of different ways, right? Jalen Walker gives me those vibes a little bit. I think he can really kind of be a jack of all trades for San Francisco. There's no secret that they need defensive help pretty badly. You got Fred Warner, and I literally don't know who their other linebacker is. It's not a notorious quitter Devondre Campbell anymore. So, do you remember that? You remember that whole thing? That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Not for him, but hilarious from a fan perspective. Anyway,
Not for a 49ers fan.
not for a 49ers fan. Yeah, it was just like another thing to tack on to the list of things that went wrong in 2024.
Oh my god.
So the 49ers are looking to kind of get back to those heights. I don't know, man. I know maybe this is the Eagles fan, the rivalry in me kind of seeping through a little bit. I have difficulty seeing that. I think they'll be better than what they went 6-11 or
It
something.
was a rough season.
I think they'll be
Fall
better.
from
I think they'll be
grace.
better than that. I don't know if they're going to win 10 or 11 games. I think they may find themselves around 500 because they lost a lot. They lost a lot of talent. So I think with the 11th overall pick, the San Francisco 49ers select Jalen Walker, linebacker. I can't spell. Walker, linebacker. Georgia. I know you all love to hear those sounds of those keys clicking.
It's like ASMR.
Yeah. No kidding. It's like ASMR. Yeah. So the number 12 overall pick, the Dallas Cowboys.
Joe, it's your favorite team.
Wonderful. Yeah, my favorite team. Yeah. Shout out to all my people back home who are massive Cowboys fans. It's football country in Dallas now, more so thanks to the Mavs being stupid. But yeah, the Cowboys are on the clock now. I realized I didn't hit drafts for the 49ers. There we go. That's better. Anyways, the Cowboys are on the board. They had a really, really rough season. Thanks to Jerry Jones going all in free agency. They went 7-10 last year. Not good. And watches their biggest rivals won a Super Bowl. So, yeah, I know how rough it is. For Cowboys fans and how rough 2024 was. They're looking to reload, get back to get back to those heights where they will be eliminated in their first playoff game once again. I had
Yes,
to.
sir.
Didn't have to, but I
Yes,
but I
sir.
did.
Tradition.
I chose to. Yeah, tradition. So you know me, right?
I know you.
I tend to go for need above best player available. That's just kind of I'm no scout or exec or whatever, but if I was, that's how I would do it. So there is something that jumps out right here, and I think it may not. It's not going to be a flashy pick, I don't think, but it's going to be a pick that the Cowboys need to make. So with that being said, with the 12th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft, now that I think their primary target, Ashton Jeanty, is off the board, the Dallas Cowboys select Shamar Stewart, edge rusher, Texas A&M. So,
Wow.
yeah, I know that they already got. I've made Micah Parsons references several times in this episode. They already got him, but they add to what is already a pretty solid defense. They got a lot of talent over there, and they add to that. Maybe this may be, I don't know, maybe a bit more of a developmental pick. But there is a chance that Stewart can come in and make an impact right away. So that's the direction I have the Cowboys going. I think it fills a need a little bit.
Joe, I'm not a fan of your pick here.
Really?
I'm not. I think that you mentioned that the defense is already pretty solid, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I
the
guess
off.
add more to that. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's my
look,
logic.
I understand that, but I think that the Cowboys are at a point where you have so much invested in Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb,
Uh-huh.
and that window is closing. So instead of going and addressing your defense, which already is solid, help your offense out, because that's what you're investing all this money into is your offense. I mean, obviously there's money on both sides of the ball, but the offense is really what the Cowboys have, these stars, but nothing else around them, right? You have
Yeah.
Dak Prescott, you have, stars.
There's not a whole lot of depth on this
No,
team,
there's
is
not
there?
depth. And the offensive line is fine. You don't really address the offensive line. A rare case for a team drafting this early, because we've mentioned it, a lot of the issues for most of these teams is offensive line. I think the issue is that you've had CeeDee Lamb and who else for how long?
Jalen Tolbert,
Yeah.
Jonathan Mingo.
That's the issue. And I can understand because you already had this guy off your board. But I think for the Cowboys, if you're talking about a guy who can come in and make an impact now, why not go out there and get a big wide receiver? I'm talking a wide receiver that's about 6'4", Teteroa McMillan, Arizona, with the 12th
I
overall
like
pick.
that, actually. I like
pair
that pick.
CeeDee Lamb with another weapon, kind of go all in. And look, if that means make the playoffs and lose in the first round, that's what it is. But you got to go all in with
Cowboys
what
are excel at that.
Yeah,
So.
you just got to continue. You can't just keep sacrificing these players on your offense. You're sacrificing CeeDee Lamb's time with you. You're sacrificing Dak Prescott's contract with you. Go all in. Go out on this offense. Get Teteroa McMillan with the 12th overall pick.
All right. I like that. I like that.
I think it works well.
yeah.
I mean, you already used Teteroa McMillan, so I can understand you don't want to reach on a different wide receiver.
Yeah. That was
Um,
kind of like, because, like, I don't really know. I thought about Matthew Golden, but
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like,
Yeah.
I feel like they need.
All right. 13th overall. We're coming towards the end here. The Miami Dolphins. I'm not going to waste too much time here. You lose Javon Holland at your safety position. Offensive line, I think, is a big spot to address. But in my draft, you've already seen 3 offensive tackles go off the board.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to reach for the 4th best offensive tackle with pick number 13. So I think you replace your safety. You go Nick Emmanwori from South Carolina.
Wow.
The
Okay.
best
I
safety
thought
in
you
the
were going to say
class.
Malachi Starks.
No, I'm going
Wow.
to go with South Carolina's Nick Emmanwori.
And that's a guy I want. That from fan perspective, that's Malachi Starks is a guy I want the Eagles to get because we kind of need safety now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Howie. But we kind of need safety now. I want the Eagles to get Starks. So I thought you were going to say Starks, and I got nervous. So, but that's surprising, interesting. I kind of like it, actually. So, yeah. So let's see here for the Miami Dolphins. Okay, this is intriguing. I think I have an idea. This may be a little bit of a reach, but I think I'm going to go with it here. I think with the 13th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Derek Harmon, defensive tackle from Oregon. Let's go with that. Why don't we? So I think it fills a need for Miami. I mean, there are a lot of holes on this Miami roster, and there might be a big one with the whole Tyreek Hill thing. We don't really know how that's going to end, if he's going to stay or get traded or what. But I think they need reinforcements defensively, and I think Harmon does that. I think he's one of those. I think he's a guy who can come in and make an impact right away. Kind of like I said about Shamar Stewart for the Cowboys. I think Derek Harmon can come in and make an impact right away in Miami. So that's who I have the Dolphins going with here. I am not caught up on my picks, but we can do that afterward. Shall we go to pick number 14?
14.
The Indianapolis Colts, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, so the Colts. Okay, all right, I know exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm not going to waste time. It's a huge need, and it's the best player at this position on the board. And I think it was either you and I, or it was either you and I, or maybe it was Levi and I talking about the other day. The Colts used their tight ends heavily in their offense. And
Remember Eric Ebron back in the day. With
yeah.
the Colts team.
And not even it was even before Shane Steichen got here.
Yeah,
right?
it's been a while.
It was even before Shane Steichen got here. Still continuing to use the tight end heavily
Even back with Peyton.
Yeah, in the Colts offense. So that being said, not going to waste too much more time here. With the 14th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State, as Warren finally goes off the board after waiting maybe a little bit longer than he anticipated, but he's now a Colt.
Well, so I'm not going to waste too much time as well. I agree tight end is the biggest need. You got to give more protection to Richardson, Anthony Richardson, young quarterback. You need to offer him a safety valve option. Tight end is so much value for a young quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
But unlike you, I have Tyler Warren off the board. So I'm going to go down to the next tight end on the board, who I think this is a good spot for him. And I think Warren can easily go up there with the Jags. He could fall, though, because I don't think a ton of teams are looking for a tight end. But I think, obviously in mine, I have the Jags taking him. So I'm going to go with the 14th overall pick, the Indianapolis Colts select Colston Loveland, tight end, Michigan.
Yep.
The second best tight end in this draft.
Yeah.
That takes us on to pick 15. Just two more picks here.
Yeah.
I'll lead us off on the Atlanta Falcons with pick 15. Fun fact, the Atlanta Falcons haven't had a player reach double-digit sacks since Vic Beasley in 2016.
That is almost a decade ago.
It's been a long time.
Coming up now.
Another fun fact, every other team in the NFL since 2019 has had at least 198 sacks. So let's say 200. 198, 200. The Falcons in that stretch, 169. They're 30 sacks behind the next closest team. And they rank last in QB pressure over that time. That's why, with the 15th pick in the NFL draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Mike Green, edge rusher, Marshall. The Thundering Herd.
Okay.
Look, Mike Green led the country last season with 17 sacks. That's
wild.
Kind of gone unnoticed because he's not from a big name school, but he has a ton of talent. He's shot up draft boards with how well he did in the combine. Mike Green is the guy. I think he's going to be the Falcons guy. He's looked really, really good. I think he's a dynamic pass rusher, and just because he went to a small school in Marshall doesn't mean he can't compete in the NFL. We've seen it from edge rushers. I mean, look where guys like Khalil Mack went to college, Buffalo. These guys who have gone to small schools who have succeeded and excelled in the NFL, I think Mike Green's the next in that list. So Mike Green, Marshall.
Well, that's interesting because we're in agreement here.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Let's go.
We're in agreement here. I have the Falcons with the 15th overall pick. The Atlanta Falcons select Mike Green, edge rusher from Marshall.
Yeah.
I am in agreement with everything that you said. He doesn't come from big name school, but he has just shot up draft boards like a cannon. He performed so well at the combine and led the country in sacks, which is insane. And a guy from wait a minute, a guy from Marshall led the country in sacks? Yup. That's right. So the Falcons desperately need a guy who can get after the quarterback. Oh, I hit my funny bone.
Oh, no.
Who can get after the quarterback. So the Falcons take Mike Green, and that brings us to our final pick of this episode. We'll hit, don't worry, we'll hit part two. We'll hit part two when we come back next week. But for now, we're going to put the lid on it at number 16. Am I going?
You start.
Okay, no, I'm starting. All right, so the Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. The Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, so this is funny because their top team need is edge, and they just took an edge. Ha! Well, so the Cardinals, a bit of an up and down year for them. They're expected to take a step in their in their second season under Jonathan Gannon. You know how I feel about him.
Oh yeah.
Although the sting is eased a lot by this past year. So Jonathan Gannon, the man in charge in Arizona now, it was a step forward for Arizona, but not as big as I think some people thought it would be. Some people expected it to be. I believe they went 8-9.
Yeah, I think
so. They're just looking to get better.
Almost made the playoffs. They were in contention the last week. I remember if they had to win, and I think someone else had to lose. Might have been the
Rams or
Saints.
the Seahawks.
No, I don't remember. I guess it was a wild card, so it might have been one of those teams.
Yeah. But the Cardinals. So one player's jumping out to me right now. So, actually now two. Now I'm torn. All right, so. This is what I'm gonna do. This is maybe a little bit of a reach. I don't know, but I think you got to give Kyler Murray right. Kyler Murray's got Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., your favorite. Marvin Harrison Jr. They kind of struggled at times to establish that connection, which was a little strange. But I think you got to surround Kyler Murray with all the weapons that you can. So I think. I'm going to go ahead and predict that you will not be in agreement with me here, but I'm going to go with this. With the 16th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Matthew Golden, wide receiver from Texas. I'm getting the sense you don't agree with me.
No. Look, I don't hate it, though. I can see it. I'm also going to go offense here. Yeah. I just think, you just went all in on Marv. You know what I mean? Give them time to develop. I guess you can throw another young receiver in there, but how many rookie receivers are you going to throw at Kyler Murray? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think something else needs to change. I think the best player available is where you go here. Okay. And I think it's on the offensive line. Tyler Booker from Alabama with the 16th pick, an interior offensive lineman. I think it just bolsters up that protection for Kyler Murray, and that will allow him to develop that connection with Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
If you have more time to throw the ball, and also that'll help in the run game. Tyler Booker's a great player. He's a big dude. He's a stud on the inside of that offensive line.
Oh, yeah.
I think if you are the Cardinals, there's a lot of team needs, but I think you want to just go with when there's a situation when there's a lot of team needs, just go with the best player that is available to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Tyler Booker offers. Kind of solidify it. It's not a very flashy pick.
Not a sexy pick.
Not a sexy pick. But I think it's the pick that you need to make. I don't hate Golden. I don't.
I just think that it's kind of you got to get, you
get a second. Get a number two.
You get a number two. You got to surround Kyler Murray with that talent because it's just something that you need at this level.
So we started in agreement. We'll end this episode disagreeing with each other, and we will have to see how picks 17 through 32 play out in part 2 of our NFL draft special.
Yes, but until then, that's going to be it for this episode. We're going to get out of here a little bit early, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was our part 1 of our 2-part NFL mock draft. Part 2, we will be back here in about a week's time to finish up the first round. But that was a lot. That was a lot of fun. I always love doing this.
Oh, yeah.
I always love doing this. It's one of the things I look forward to the most when we get to this semester and we start getting to this time. We do this show. But as always, for you all, our audience, we could not do any of this without you.
Yeah.
So thank you all for listening / watching. This will be up on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. In the meantime, our MLB preview is up.
Yeah.
So go check that out. Both parts. Part 1 came with our man Garrett Larson.
Part 2 we ran solo.
Part 2 we ran solo, but that's all good. So yeah, go check those out while you wait on this one. But until then, thank you guys again, as always, and we'll see you later.
Joe.
Yes.
Top 4 running backs. Pollard. Spears.
Yeah, shout out Cam Ward. I guess he knows.
Our number 1 overall pick.
I guess he knows.
We'll see you next week.
We'll see you guys soon.